I have some prepared remarks, but I have to admit I feel wholly inadequate at this point. I'm going to do my best. Dr. Holdren, Mr. Alini, Secretary Chu, Secretary Duncan, distinguished leadership of the American Society for Engineering and Education, and other honored guests, on behalf of my fellow engineering deans gathered here today, especially those serving with me on the Dean's Advisory Committee for the High Tech Education Working Group of the White House Council on Jobs and Competitiveness. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. We all know that higher education is one of America's greatest assets, and engineering education is one of the strongest components of American higher education. So in the engineering colleges represented here today, as well as our colleagues who cannot be here, we see what amounts to a competitive advantage for our nation. And it's a competitive advantage that must be leveraged. The President's recent call to action challenging the nation to graduate another 10,000 or 20,000 or 25,000 engineers per year is both timely and crucial. To achieve this aim, engineering schools and colleges must meet two fundamental challenges: attracting more young minds to the field of engineering and keeping them there until they successfully complete engineering degrees. These two challenges require us to embark upon some innovation of our own, and recent months have led to discussion among my colleagues that have affirmed that we are up to the task. For participating in these discussions, I'm particularly grateful to my fellow members of what we call the Dean's Advisory Committee, Leah Jamison of Purdue University, who could not be here today, Dean Louis Martin Vega of North Carolina State University, Louis.
Right here.
Dean David Munson of the University of Michigan, Dave. Dean Darrell Pines of the University of Maryland, right in front of me. Dean Shankar Sastry of the University of California, Berkeley, who also couldn't be here but is represented by his Associate Dean Fiona Doyle, who's here somewhere. Fiona. I would also like to really thank and acknowledge Paul Otolini for his strong support and insightful leadership throughout our deliberations. We've all learned together that it's clear that we have to think differently as we showcase engineering to our nation's young people. My colleagues and I have proposed that as we move forward, we recognize excellence in engineering education by the level of commitment to retention, graduation, and diversity. While the active participation of engineering deans is essential in this endeavor, we could not be more pleased that the ASEE has agreed to partner with us to lend expertise in the development of an appropriate and relevant set of metrics in these areas. Engineering is a profession of great wonder and rich reward. In communicating the appeal of our profession, we must tap into what young people value most in their life's work: flexibility, connectivity, visibility, and above all else, the chance to use technology to make a real impact on our nation and on the world to change society for the better. This includes reaching out to women and underrepresented minority groups to ensure that the workforce of tomorrow has the skills to regain our nation's leadership in technology. Every U.S. citizen must be given an equal opportunity to develop the tools and acquire the knowledge needed to compete. It's just common sense. Innovation must be tied to inclusive excellence, because you never know where the next great invention or the next great idea will come from. But we do know that it's most likely to emerge when people with different perspectives are working together. It's not enough to find and attract students, however. We must also do everything in our power to keep them engaged in engineering study. This involves providing academic support and financial aid, connecting the curriculum to real-world situations, involving them in research, helping them build a professional network even before their first internship, and communicating that what they do really matters, and that their university and their profession stand with them and behind them in their efforts. These approaches work. We've seen that at my home institution, Georgia Tech. Using a mix of strategies and tactics, we've been able to hold on to 94% of our freshmen after their first year, and we've succeeded in graduating 8 out of every 10 of our students within 6 years. Even more so, we are attracting women and minorities to engineering in large numbers, and I'm very proud to say graduating them, making Georgia Tech the nation's largest and most diverse college of engineering. As our work goes forward, we will be sharing best practices for recruitment and retention and creating new incentives for the hundreds of American universities offering engineering programs. Our collaboration will be groundbreaking in its breadth and its depth, but that's what's needed to meet the challenges ahead. As with scientific exploration, the more minds working on the problem, the better. So let's build on this day and the days that came before this one to create the capacity that our nation requires to prepare and graduate our engineers who will invent our future and strengthen our nation's competitive advantage, and to expand the opportunity to all those who can contribute to making an impact. Now, as I close, I'd like to mention that the White House would be very appreciative if all of us could go back to our home campuses tonight and tomorrow, and for those of you that tweet, you You can tweet about this activity.
Absolutely.
For those of you that have other means of communicating with your constituencies, we'd like to have you do that. Now it's my pleasure at this point to introduce my good friend and colleague, Don Giddens, President of ASCE, to offer his remarks. Don.